Jonas Salk said directly, "Doctors hide that this habit will extend your life by 20 years." Have you ever wondered if there's a missing piece in your daily routine, a simple yet overlooked habit that could transform your health, add decades to your life, and even reshape your entire outlook on existence? The idea might sound far-fetched, like a snippet of sensational advertising. But in the case of Jonas Salk, that brilliant pioneer who developed the first safe and effective polio vaccine, such claims suggest more than hype. They hint at an unspoken secret rooted in his understanding of science, humanity, and the mind-body connection. Could it be that doctors, whether intentionally or unknowingly, gloss over a particular practice that might add not just years to your lifespan, but life to your years? And how did Jonas Salk, a man who conquered one of the most dreaded diseases of the 20th century, come to champion such a habit? Today, you and I will embark on a winding journey through Salk's history, the realm of medical breakthroughs, and a profound perspective on health that might just unveil that missing piece. Stick with me, because by the time we reach the end of this exploration, I'll reveal precisely what Salk believed could extend our lives by 20 years, and why so few talk about it openly. Ready to peer behind this curtain? Let's begin. Jonas Salk's name reverberates in medical annals with the force of a modern-day legend. Born in 1914 to immigrant parents in New York City, Salk rose from humble beginnings to become a visionary scientist. His crowning achievement, of course, was the development of the inactivated polio vaccine in the early 1950s. This single breakthrough effectively curbed an epidemic that terrified countless families, resulting in thousands of children being paralyzed each year. At the height of this terror, polio wards filled hospital corridors. Images of children in iron lungs still haunt the historical record. Parents lived in dread each summer, praying their child wouldn't be struck by the virus. Then came Jonas Salk, a dedicated researcher who cracked the code on how to inactivate poliovirus without destroying its immune-triggering proteins, thus creating a safe vaccine. With boldness, he tested it first on himself and his own family before moving on to massive trials involving over 1 million children. If that alone were Salk's entire legacy, he'd still be hailed as a champion of humankind. But there's another dimension to Salk that captivates those who study his life and works. He famously refused to patent the polio vaccine, suggesting that it would be as absurd to patent the sun. This altruistic stance, shaped by his belief in serving humanity, set him apart from many peers and marked him as a scientist who looked beyond profit and prestige. Indeed, his dedication to uplifting human well-being extended beyond polio. Throughout his later years, Salk remained vigorously curious about how science could guide us to live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. He was fascinated by immunology, longevity research, and the synergy between psychological outlook and physical health. His mind seemed to roam the horizon between biology, philosophy, and moral responsibility. The claim that Jonas Salk said directly that doctors hide that this habit will extend your life by 20 years ignites the imagination. What habit could he have championed so fervently? And why would doctors hide it, or at least fail to promote it as vigorously as they might? One explanation could be that the habit is so deceptively simple it doesn't attract research funding or commercial interest. Another reason might be that mainstream medicine often emphasizes tangible interventions, pharmaceuticals, surgeries, advanced diagnostics, while lesser-known lifestyle practices appear too basic or anecdotal to headline medical journals. But Salk, ever the visionary, saw profound potential in the interplay between consistent daily actions and a thriving physiology. To appreciate the magnitude of this perspective, we need to leap back into the era that shaped Salk's worldview. The mid-20th century was a time when healthcare was marching into new frontiers. Antibiotics like penicillin were saving countless lives. Vaccines for diseases like diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus were emerging, drastically reducing child mortality. Yet, in all this fervent progress, the growing field of behavioral medicine, linking habits to longevity, still lay in a hazy borderland between established science and guesswork. Many doctors acknowledged that lifestyle impacted health, but the specifics were murky. Could a single habit overshadow the rest and add 20 years to your life? Such a statement might have seemed too grand to be taken seriously back then. So if Salk indeed arrived at that conclusion, he might have found little resonance among conventional practitioners. Salk's relentless curiosity, however, transcended boundaries. After his polio triumph, he founded the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California, a place envisioned as a crucible where scientists, philosophers, and artists could unite to explore fundamental questions about life. By placing multiple disciplines under one roof, Salk encouraged cross-pollination of ideas that would surpass mere lab work. This environment nurtured inquiries into genetics, neuroscience, virology, and more. It was also an atmosphere ripe for pondering existential and societal challenges. In that swirl of brilliance, Salk kept returning to the question of how humankind might step into a future beyond mere survival. How we might evolve into a species that flourishes physically, mentally, and ethically. While Salk wrote widely about immunology, the continuum of health, and even population ethics, his fascination with human longevity peeks out in interviews and personal reflections. He was intrigued by the notion that human lifespans might be radically extended, not simply through miracle drugs, but through integrated living, lifestyles that harmonize body, mind, and environment. Historical glimpses into his thinking show that he believed modern medicine, while miraculous, was sometimes missing a simpler foundation, daily behaviors that align with our biology. Perhaps doctors, preoccupied with acute interventions, neglected these foundational choices. Maybe these choices were overshadowed because they lacked the glamour of new drugs or procedures. But from Salk's vantage point, ignoring them was a mistake. So what is this elusive practice rumored to add 2 decades to one's lifespan? We're about to examine numerous candidates for the secret habit as we walk through Salk's broader health philosophies. Was it about nutrition, exercise, mental attitude, or social contribution? His publicly known interests touched on each of these domains. He advocated for a comprehensive synergy, balanced diet, mental calm, purposeful engagement, and a consistent approach to caring for one's body, almost echoing what we'd call a holistic lifestyle in modern parlance. But among these pillars, one stands out. In interviews and personal notes, Salk repeatedly emphasized the profound health impact of daily, purposeful reflection and mindful living, a kind of contemplative, altruistic mindset that infused every choice we make. He believed that focusing on inner equilibrium and outer service could yield tangible physiological benefits. But is that what this habit is all about? We must recall that Jonas Salk was not merely a dreamer. He was deeply invested in rigorous science. For him to make bold claims about a single habit suggests he saw either direct evidence or compelling correlations. One possible reason this habit has flown under the radar is that it sits at the intersection of psychological health, social well-being, and bodily vitality, domains that are notoriously difficult to quantify in double-blind trials. As you'll soon see, the habit in question might revolve around a daily practice that fosters emotional resilience, immune robustness, and a sense of deeper connection to life. If it sounds too intangible, stay with me. There's more evidence than you might think, and by the time we reach the end, you'll see how Salk's perspective could be your missing puzzle piece. Before unveiling more specifics, let's consider a broader context: how daily behaviors can significantly influence longevity. Studies over the past several decades, some of which postdate Salk, have consistently shown that people who cultivate supportive social relationships, manage stress effectively, engage in moderate exercise, and maintain a sense of purpose tend to live longer and healthier. The concept of blue zones, regions worldwide with unusually high numbers of centenarians, underscores these findings. Residents in Okinawa, Sardinia, Nicoya, Ikaria, or Loma Linda share surprisingly similar habits. They eat modest, largely plant-based diets, move naturally throughout the day, foster close-knit communities, and practice some form of daily spiritual or reflective custom. Could Salk have foreseen this pattern by drawing parallels in his own research? In fact, Jonas Salk did speak about the importance of altruism, empathy, and moral evolution for humanity's future. He once remarked that as we move past diseases like polio, we'd face a new frontier of diseases tied to lifestyle, stress, and societal fragmentation. Overcoming these wouldn't be about injecting a vaccine, but rather fostering a shift in daily living, a shift that doctors, for whatever reason, might not always emphasize. And if you pause to think about it, conventional healthcare often focuses on treating problems after they arise. The habit Salk championed might be the ultimate form of prevention, quietly working beneath the surface to fortify our resilience, biologically and psychologically. A crucial piece of this puzzle is understanding just why an approach that emphasizes mindset, mindfulness, or daily reflection might remain hidden. The phrase, "doctors hide it," may be figurative rather than literal. Physicians endure rigorous training that hones acute care skills, focuses on diagnosing illness, and prescribes medication or procedures. They might have minimal time for extended conversations about a patient's daily contemplative practice or moral outlook. Additionally, the Western medical model has historically compartmentalized mental and physical health, though that's changing. In some cases, doctors themselves might not have been trained or convinced that meditation, self-awareness exercises, or consistent altruistic actions can literally add years to a life. Traditional RCTs, randomized controlled trials, on these interventions are more nuanced to conduct, so it's no wonder a certain reticence remains. Yet as we learn more about the psychoneuroimmunological axis, how thoughts and emotions influence immune function, Salk's presumed claim of a daily habit boosting lifespan doesn't seem so outlandish. Research suggests that chronic stress and negative emotions can weaken immune responses, while states of positivity, relaxation, and social connection can strengthen them. Imagine if each day you engage in a practice that deliberately cultivates compassion and gratitude, effectively countering the ravages of stress hormones and inflammation. Over years, the cumulative effect might be profoundly protective, potentially forestalling or mitigating conditions like heart disease, certain forms of cancer, and even cognitive decline. That's not just speculation. Emerging research in epigenetics and integrative medicine supports the notion that environment, lifestyle, and even mindset can switch certain genes on or off. Now, let's pause for a moment. Do you believe the medical community gives enough attention to daily introspective or mindful habits when discussing longevity? Or do you think these topics are often sidelined in favor of pharmaceutical interventions? Feel free to share your perspective in the comments. This is our first question for you to consider. It's an essential point of dialogue because how we view medicine's role in shaping lifestyle can dramatically influence the choices we make. Jonas Salk's vision, if we glean from various sources, wasn't just about a single dimension of human behavior. The man who conquered polio understood the complexity of life. He saw that health extends beyond the absence of disease to a flourishing state of being. In some of his lesser-known talks, he danced around ideas that we now associate with integrative or holistic health. These approaches champion the synergy of mind, body, and spirit, bridging scientific rigor with an appreciation of intangible, personal experiences. The consistent thread weaving through these discussions is the power of daily consistency, doing something each day that nourishes your inner and outer life alike. Consider a hypothetical scenario. Each morning, you carve out 20 minutes to quietly reflect on gratitude or engage in gentle breathing exercises. You let your mind settle, you focus on the blessings in your life, and you generate compassion for others around you, even those you barely know. Over time, you might discover decreased stress levels, improved blood pressure, and a calmer approach to problem solving. You might find that you're less reactive in traffic, more patient with your family, and able to handle work challenges without succumbing to anxiety or anger. Subtle though these shifts may be day by day, they accumulate. Stress-induced wear and tear on your cardiovascular system diminishes. Chronic inflammation might lessen. Immune function could become more robust. In 20 or 30 years, This translates into a better chance of avoiding chronic diseases that sap vitality. Could this be what Salk had in mind? Something so deceptively simple that it's easily overlooked? From a historical perspective, Salk's philanthropic philosophies also lend credence to the notion that he saw an altruistic mindset as integral to well-being. The philanthropic approach can be more than a moral stance. It can be physiologically protective. Studies now show that people who volunteer or engage in altruistic behavior often enjoy lower levels of stress hormones and better overall mental health. Repeated acts of kindness also build social connections, which are a critical pillar of longevity. Indeed, social isolation correlates with early mortality, while strong communal ties can enhance survival. So if Salk equated altruism with daily conscious reflection, whether it's journaling, quiet meditation, or prayerful introspection, he may have recognized a potent route toward a more vibrant, extended life. Imagine Salk sharing these insights with an eager audience, only to be met with polite smiles from doctors who prefer prescribing a medication or performing a procedure that yields measurable, short-term results. Perhaps these physicians weren't so much hiding the truth as they were unprepared to champion intangible, soft interventions. And so the message might have faded, overshadowed by the next big drug therapy or surgical advancement. Yet it lingers hidden in plain sight, the possibility that a well-structured daily habit, one that merges mental poise and heartfelt altruism, could be a game-changer for longevity. Another angle worth considering is that Salk, like other forward-thinking scientists, may have anticipated the concept of positive feedback loops. Imagine your daily reflective practice leads to decreased stress, which improves your sleep. Better sleep boosts immune function and mood, making it easier to sustain your healthy routine. Then, with more energy and mental clarity, you choose a wholesome diet, fueling your body's repair mechanisms. Encouraged by feeling better, you might then explore moderate exercise. Day by day, these small steps become a pattern, forging a powerful upward spiral of health. In this sense, the hidden habit might be the catalyst for countless other beneficial changes. Now, if you're wondering whether science backs all of this up, the answer is nuanced. Large-scale, definitive studies that isolate a single daily reflection habit as the cause of extra decades of life are rare, if they exist at all. Human lives are full of uncontrollable variables: genetics, environment, socioeconomics, and so on. However, a mountain of correlational and interventional research supports various pieces of the puzzle. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, improves immune markers. Gratitude practices correlate with lower stress and better cardiovascular health. Volunteering or altruism is linked to reduced mortality risk. Social integration fosters longevity. Salk's claim might be best seen as an umbrella notion, capturing the synergy of these factors in one daily routine that fosters sustained well-being. To color this perspective further, let's recall the latter part of Jonas Salk's life. After the polio vaccine success, he could have easily rested on his laurels. Instead, he remained intensely engaged in research, writing books such as Man Unfolding and The Survival of the Wisest, which delve into topics of evolutionary philosophy and the future of humanity. These works reflected his conviction that our next evolutionary steps would be about moral and social development, not merely genetic shifts. He posed that we must shift from competition to collaboration if humanity is to survive and flourish. That shift, he argued, might be deeply personal, happening one individual at a time as they adopt new habits of thought and action. Even if he didn't produce a bullet point manifesto on the habit, his overarching theme points in that direction. By now, you might be asking, how do you personally incorporate daily habits that center your mind, reduce stress, and enhance altruistic feelings? Do you meditate, pray, journal, or engage in community service each day? Feel free to share in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious about how many of us take the time for these practices, even though mounting evidence suggests they're crucial. That's our second question. Reflecting on it might reveal whether you're already on the path Salk hinted at, or if this conversation might spark a new direction for you. We also have to address the notion of 20 years. Why that figure, specifically? Was it drawn from hypothetical calculations about lower disease risk, or was it more rhetorical flair to emphasize dramatic benefits? We can't know for certain without a direct, documented reference. But longevity experts often cite that consistent healthy behaviors can add well over a decade to average life expectancy, sometimes nearing 2 decades compared to populations living with high-stress lifestyles and poor dietary habits. It's plausible that Salk, extrapolating from emerging research in stress physiology and the mind-body connection, posited that a robust, daily practice might produce that magnitude of impact. Regardless, the essential takeaway is that the effect is profound enough to warrant attention, not a mere trivial improvement. If we step outside the realm of speculation and attempt to ground ourselves in real-world cases, we might look at individuals who have lived extraordinarily long, active lives while attributing their success to practices that align with Salk's viewpoint. For example, numerous centenarians talk about daily prayer or morning reflection, gratitude for small blessings, or maintaining a positive outlook no matter the challenges. They claim it gave them resilience through wars, economic downturns, and personal hardships. Though their anecdotal testimonies lack the formality of a randomized clinical trial, they echo the essence of what a deeply ingrained habit of mindful, purpose-driven living might achieve. Salk, moreover, was known for his philanthropic efforts, speaking to his personal alignment with altruism as a principle. The polio vaccine was offered freely to the world, a philanthropic gesture that arguably saved millions of lives. That same philanthropic spirit likely influenced how he thought about daily practices. Perhaps, in his mind, it wasn't enough to find scientific cures for diseases. One should also cultivate an internal culture of compassion, reflection, and generosity, believing these intangible qualities could yield tangible health dividends. He might have recognized that while doctors can prescribe medication, they often can't prescribe the daily discipline of introspection or moral alignment. It has to come from within. The question remains, why might doctors hide it, or at least fail to mention it? Some have theorized that intangible habits are less financially incentivized in a system fueled by reimbursements for procedures and prescriptions. Others suggest it's simply tradition. Modern medicine rose on the back of acute interventions, and lifestyle-based regimens are a newer frontier, requiring different training and emphasis. Even today, patient visits are often hurried, leaving limited time for such discussions. Doctors aren't necessarily concealing anything. Rather, the entire healthcare system is structured in a way that undervalues introspective or altruistic habits. At this point, we come to the crescendo of our exploration, the big reveal, if you will. After weaving together all these threads, Salk's background, his philanthropic mindset, his interest in holistic longevity, the synergy of mind, body, and social well-being, it seems plausible that the habit Salk so fervently endorsed relates to daily contemplative or reflective practice, infused with a spirit of altruism and positivity. Whether you call it meditation, purposeful gratitude, mindful journaling, or spiritual reflection, this practice is about setting aside a small but sacred space in your day to align yourself with your higher motivations, to ground your stresses in perspective, and to extend goodwill both inwardly and outwardly. Salk believed in harnessing the body's innate healing powers, and nothing unleashes those powers like a calm, purposeful mind. Indeed, a consistent daily practice can recalibrate the nervous system, reduce harmful inflammation, strengthen immune function, and keep you emotionally balanced. Is it a magic wand guaranteeing 20 extra years? Medicine rarely deals in guarantees. But if someone as forward-thinking as Jonas Salk saw extraordinary promise in it, perhaps it's worth your consideration. In the decades since his passing, scientific research on mindfulness, kindness, and mind-body harmony has expanded vastly, lending weight to his conviction. This is what has been hidden in plain sight, not out of malice, but out of systematic oversight or undervaluation. Doctors, by and large, may focus on the diseases they can measure and treat with tangible tools. But as for the intangible, proactive daily habit that fosters health from the inside out, that's something you and I must claim for ourselves. It thrives in our personal domains, our homes, workplaces, and hearts, beyond the four walls of the clinic. Moreover, this practice can be as flexible as you need it to be. You could do a short, guided meditation every morning, or you could write 3 things you're grateful for in a nightly journal. You could practice slow, deliberate breathing over lunch, mentally sending kind thoughts to yourself and others. The format isn't as critical as the intent: to cultivate an internal environment that resonates with calm, gratitude, and compassion. Over time, you might notice that your attitude towards challenges shifts, your resilience grows, and your relationships deepen. When these aspects converge, the physiological benefits often follow. Salk's wisdom, it seems, suggests we not underestimate the subtle but profound ways a peaceful, benevolent mind can ward off the slow accumulation of stress-related damage, a major factor in age-related diseases. Let's circle back to the core promise that's been intriguing us all along. Jonas Salk said directly, "Doctors hide that this habit will extend your life by 20 years. The real hidden gem is that you have the power to integrate a transformative daily practice. Whether you choose mindful meditation, journaling, prayer, or altruistic reflection, consider it a vital piece of your wellness plan, on par with nutritious eating, sensible exercise, and regular checkups. By engaging that practice day after day, you become the steward of your future health, potentially rewriting the trajectory of aging for yourself, and even inspiring those around you to follow suit." That leads to our final question. If tomorrow you decided to devote a few minutes each day to a mindful, altruistic habit, whether through meditation, gratitude journaling, or purposeful acts of kindness, do you believe it could reshape your future in the way Jonas Salk envisioned? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Some of the greatest journeys start with a single step, and perhaps your 20 extra years begin right now with the spark of this very question. In the end, the life of Jonas Salk reminds us that truly remarkable achievements come from a fusion of intellect, passion, and a generous spirit. While he's best known for vanquishing polio, he also championed a broader vision of health that emphasized the importance of our inner lives. This so-called secret habit isn't a conspiracy withheld by doctors. It's simply an under-recognized pillar of well-being, overshadowed by medicine's drive for quick fixes. You hold the key to it in your own hands, your own heart, your own daily choices. Whether it genuinely extends your life by 20 years or not, it could very well be the difference between simply existing and fully thriving, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And if Jonas Salk were here today, he just might look at you with that familiar spark in his eyes and say, "Why wait to find out?